I wanted to take a minute today at the beginning of the podcast and say thank you to our sponsor, Huber Engineered Woods. Huber has actually been a sponsor of the podcast since 2020 when we decided to start this little endeavor. Without our sponsors, this content is probably not something that happens. But I think the best part about having Huber as a partner on this is it's an incredibly authentic alignment. Peter, Steve, and I all use Huber Woods. I've been using Advantech Subfloor for coming on probably 21 years now. I've been using Zip System and Zip System with the insulation on the back, the Zip R, since 2013. It's a system that I believe in. That systems approach where things play well together. They have design parameters that allow you to use their system for what you're working on. It works. Their tech support's there. Their knowledge is there. I've never had an issue with their product, and it's a great thing that they've decided to sponsor the podcast. So thank you, Huber Engineered Woods.
Pete Yost here for the Unbuild It podcast. I'm here with my two buddies, Jake Bruton and Steve Basic. I pronounce your name the right way. Sometimes I struggle with Steve. It's just hard. We've got a pretty cool topic this time. It's an unusual one, I think really thought-provoking, and it's about building standards for building professionals. Now, I can see a number of people going right for the dial, like I'm sure I could find something more interesting than this. But I think the underlying premise here is...
It's about to get interesting.
Yeah, as soon as we switch over to you, is that what it's all about?
When Pete's done talking.
When Pete's done talking, it's going to get real interesting.
All right, but I'm not quite done yet.
Do you remember what you were going to say?
I think so.
Okay.
We design and build some of the most complex, most expensive items that anyone's going to buy. And so you would think that
Space
the bar...
Station's pretty expensive.
What's that?
I didn't buy it.
Space Station.
It's pretty expensive.
Yeah. Well, you may be able to buy a space station.
I'm not buying it.
NASA doesn't take layaway.
So we want to talk about, given the complexity and the scope of work involved with building a building, how might our building standards for building professionals be different and maybe more comparable with folks like lawyers and doctors? So, Steve, how's that for a lead-in?
It's good, but I hate it.
Uh-oh. Shoot. Okay, I brought up the topic. Now we got to stick with it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm against any standard. I don't like them. I think they...
Why?
Well, that's what I was getting into. I think they get abused and become marketing hype for different companies, right? Like, when Energy Star first came out, like people writing, oh, we have an enhanced insulation package. No, you don't. You're building it to code. It's not an enhanced insulation package, right? And it's just, I don't know. I mean, part of it is my personal preference not to be told what to do, right? I don't want to be
kidding.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of a surprise. It might come as a surprise, but like I was reading something earlier today. It said chase friction. I like
chase friction.
Yes.
Do you think you're not wanting to be told what to do is a direct result of years of being told exactly what to do?
No, there's pretty much but what's really interesting, the dichotomy that I am forced to live with is I absolutely love the military, would die for the Marine Corps, but I hate standards and being told what to do, which is in total opposition.
Things don't go together.
But they did it so well that you were part of that system. The problem is like in the building industry, you're not, I don't know. I don't feel like I'm in part of the system. And I think part of it is the rest of the building industry isn't rowing in the same direction I am.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Right. In the military,
there's a fight.
There's a fight. In the military, we were all rowing. I mean, we had we call them shitbirds, but those were
That's not, shitbirds is not a term of endearment?
It's, not in the Marine Corps. Shitbird is he's a shitbird. Like, you don't deal with him. But the building industry's got a fair amount of them. And there is a lot of friction with that. And when they're not all rowing in the same direction, I guess part of me says, just leave me the hell alone and let me do what I want to do. Because if you don't want to row in the same direction, get the hell out of my boat. I'm moving on.
Could we tie that to the difference between performance standards and prescriptive standards, I think you fall really clearly under, don't tell me how to do it. Tell me what you want and let me get there my own way.
No, I don't even like the what to do either. I mean, for me, it's like I had a recent client, and I love it. He said, the right decision should always win. And I love that. I absolutely love that. So it's, I mean, we can have standards within ourselves. Like, I would probably never build a wall that was, say, less than R21, right? And that doesn't make sense. But I don't want to be told how to do things or what to do. I mean, one of my pet peeves with like passive houses, they love to come back and tell me how to do things. And it's like, no, I'm the architect on the job. If you want to stamp the drawings, then you can do what you want to do. But don't tell me what to do, but then I have to stamp what you want to do.
So those are more standards about the process, not standards for the building
process, or maybe they don't like using spray foam or whatever. Yeah. And then I'm forced to make decisions when I think spray foam might be the best material for that solution.
Well, and I think one of the problems in the building industry is that building standards like ASTM for the way that products work, they're kind of scary because sometimes people end up designing products just to meet the particular standard, not the bigger picture. How does it work in the field? Right. So I agree with you on that. But standards for building professionals, and I'm talking about ethical standards, quality standards, educational requirements, is that something that we think that would raise the bar?
Even just basic licensing, in other words.
Yeah. I mean, there are plenty of places where you can build and not even be licensed required. It's not something that's
my
required. My
entire career until we opened our Kansas City office, I never had to have a license.
Same in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
There are no
or building inspection or any.
So
of that.
then let's talk about that too. Like that's if we're talking about building standards. Let's first
I meant Vermont. I didn't mean New Hampshire. Sorry.
Talk about code. Like the simple fact that was it like 26 states have adopted IRC? Like, one more than half. Are you serious? Like it's the national code. We're not gonna abide by that. And I understand that like Minnesota has its own code, so they haven't adopted it. Okay, but that's like one of the exceptions. There are states that just don't have.
And what about states that have adopted the standard and then they have a lot of amendments to the
or no enforcement? You only have enforcement in highly populated areas.
I mean, Massachusetts has some amendments, but a lot of our amendments are due to we have older houses. Right. So like you can't say that for a staircase, like if you're going to do this work, all of a sudden the staircase has to be 7-inch riser, 10-inch tread. When we have 8.5-inch risers and 9-inch treads or 8.5-inch treads on the house. Like we can upgrade it and make it a little better, but we can't, unless you want the stairway to go outside the exterior walls, like we can't make some of these improvements. So they're good about that.
So I think that's that's the starting point for the industry to advance is uniformity in code enforcement. And I think if there were adoption and enforcement on a national scale, I think that we would immediately see a jump forward in building technology and application of that technology and the quality of homes that get built. I know that people talk nonstop about code-built home as the worst house you can build legally. If you look at 2021 and 2024, the code is very advanced and is a substantially better home than it was 10 years ago. It is very responsive to what's going on and acknowledging building science and acknowledging energy needs and things like that. And I think that and today's technology is, we can build a really good home, a really well-built home that is not necessarily, quote, above code by much.
Let me play devil's advocate on this one.
You can build a really crappy one and meet it too.
Yeah, I was just going to say, would you both agree that there are builders out there that build absolute crap?
Yeah.
That build to code?
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's sad to say, but yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So the minute and this is one of my problems, the minute you install a standard and don't enforce it, then, and if the standard, let's say the standard isn't complete, because that's how I feel about the building code.
Yeah, that's why it gets updated every 3 years.
But I'm saying there's nothing, like you've talked about, there's nothing in the code book about water management. And it's the number one killer of buildings.
Not really.
Right?
It has like a sentence about the WRB should keep the moisture out.
So we're a culture that has billions of dollars of water damage litigation a year, and our sole standard doesn't speak to it.
Yeah.
And it's the number one. So this is why I'm saying, like, when people say, well, Steve's just being, no, we have a standard, but the standard is freaking useless if it doesn't get enforced. Going back to the military, right, in the Marine Corps, if you didn't uphold their standard, you were labeled a shipbird and you were taken care of, right? You were either out, expelled, you didn't make it through boot camp, whatever the case is. Everybody at every rank was rowing in the same direction, right? And that's the beauty of a standard. But if the standard doesn't get enforced, then it becomes useless.
So in a previous podcast, Matt talked a lot about how the Build Show is trying very hard to move the building industry to higher levels of performance.
Yes.
And certainly one of the major ways we do that is through education. And I guess the question is, all of us can say, yeah, the standards, people end up chasing the details of the standard rather than the actual spirit or result from that. Do you think that we could have standards for professional development or education that would make more building professionals understand the difference between code-built homes and higher performance homes because there's better understanding of the building science?
So in my eyes, standards and codes and all of the stuff that we're talking about are to police the lazy, the incompetent, the lowest form of that industry. Right. Because someone with a high initiative is going to go and get 20 hours worth of education a year. It's like, oh, Pete, Jake, and Steve are coming to town at a symposium. Let me take me and a couple of people from the office and we're going to go listen to them speak.
You just said we're the highest form of education, in case you aren't paying attention, Pete.
Yeah, I throw it out there every once in a while. But that's my problem. It's like, I don't want to make this a whole standard bashing. I'm just taking the position of, like, this is why I think standards and stuff fail. Let me throw another question out to you guys. Education. What do you think is more important, an educated client or an educated builder from our teaching perspective?
My first answer is, of course, the builder.
Okay.
And I bet you this is a trick because you're going to say the client.
Well, the client drives the bus in the end. They're the one that creates the budget. They're the one that
signs the check.
Yeah.
And they're the ones, because I get clients emailing me all the time. Like, you guys have heard it. We had our dream house designed, but we don't know how to do any of these kind of passive house details or whatever. Can you help us out? No. I want that architect, I want their house to fail. I want it to become a mold farm. I want you to sue the architect. I want them to go out of business. And that's my business model.
But I'm assuming that you are
sarcastic, but there's some truth to all of that.
The point of the client being educated, being the driver, it's a incredibly poignant. Every time I've taken the time to educate the client on why we do something, they've bought into what we do.
Yeah, they say, why wouldn't I do that? Like, nobody's ever told me that.
That's the quickest way to bring somebody on board, is for them to understand it. It's the same thing we do with our team members.
And imagine if clients were out there searching builders and say, sitting down at the table and saying, what's your water management strategy to the architect and the builder of their dream home? Mm-hmm. If they can't answer that simple question, you shouldn't be part of my team.
I do get an awful lot of both clients and builders saying, I'm trying really hard to become more like you, if it's a builder like Jake or if it's Steve like an architect. but it's pretty overwhelming. And I'm kind of afraid of making a lot of mistakes because
life is hard. Get a helmet.
I had a feeling you were going to say that. And this quite often happens in areas where a client says, I can't find a builder or an architect that is comfortable committing to what you're stating. And so let's say they even find one or the other. How do I pull the one that's not high performance or not building science educated into the project? I have a homeowner that I've been working for, I think, almost or a little more than 2 years. And he's basically...
the jobs he gets, that just... It's like a
billable hours.
Milking farm over here. Man, those cows just keep coming into the barn.
Not retiring because they haven't broken ground
More
yet.
milk, baby, more milk. Baby's got to get a new set of shoes.
Just let me know when you're done. So
I am done. Go ahead.
He has, because of the experience of learning both the building science and how it applies to design and actual construction, he's gone and taken the University of Wisconsin Professional Development in the engineering department, the commissioning and building science certification, which is a week-long course with an exam. So in his area, there are so few building professionals that meet the standard. He's thinking about working with other people who are looking to build new homes because of the experience he went through. And so I would say about half the hours that we spent together were not just about building his house. It was about developing his understanding of the process of building a building. Because you can learn the building science, but you've got to learn how to jump in at different points during the actual process of
I always say it. You know who the best building scientist is in the country? Client that just had a problem.
Yeah. Because that one of the problems, and we talked about this a bit with Matt, is that there's an awful lot of information out there. And it's not just a question of making sure you're separating out the wheat from the chaff. I know you don't like that expression, but also how do I use that to then talk to my builder or my architect?
Yeah. No, it certainly is a challenge, but getting back to the kind of original statement, it's kind of like if I want to pilot on the airplane, do I want somebody that like knows piloting and has a lot of experience doing it, or do I want somebody that kind of thinks they're good at it, right? And it's the same with a builder or an architect, right? It's like if I'm going to give you $1 million to design my home, do I want somebody that knows how to put this damn thing together? Or do I want them to just know how to make it pretty? Right? Or am I getting the whole package?
So I think I'm hearing loud and clear that at least one of you doesn't think that having professional standards for building professionals, and I'm thinking, I guess...
I love this conversation with you because I know we're at odds with it. The whole standards. Like,
yeah, but I'm not quite sure where I stand on this because...
No, you're not a huge standards guy, but you definitely believe that we should have something. And I'm a kind of an anarchist in saying,
well, so...
let the weak fail and the strong survive.
We know that in many European countries, you can't get a license as an architect without taking building physics. Right, and we know that that's not a requirement, a part of many architectural schools here in the United States.
And we tried to bring that to some of them. And remember, at Building Science Corporation.
Yeah.
And it was not well received. They don't have an interest in it.
Yeah. So
not to beat them up, but it's like if you polled 1,000 architects anywhere in the country, and you said, what is your biggest fear as an architect? What would their answer be? Getting sued.
Yeah, sure.
So if my biggest fear as an organization is getting sued, then why doesn't the administration that's in charge of my professional industry have any concern to teach me and help me understand how not to get sued? And I have firsthand knowledge of this, as both you know. I have 2 kids that just went through architecture school that come and have worked with me.
Yeah.
And so when I have conversations, like some of the times I say something and I'll say a word and one of them will say, well, what does that mean? I'm like, you never heard that word in school?
I paid for what?
Exactly. It's like, but this is like, I'm very frustrated because as the older I get, I realize how simple life can be. And it's never about what solutions we provide. It's about the questions we ask, right? And so if you ask that simple question of like, what's our number one concern? It's getting sued. Well, how do we solve that? Then we can solve the problem a hell of a lot easier. Other than that, we're just waving our hands, creating BS so somebody can get up on stage and say, well, we have a new standard here and we're going to do this. Okay, what's different about that from Passive House, from Energy Star, from whatever, right? Earthcraft Homes. I mean, we've seen it through the years.
Going deep.
Yeah,
Earthcraft
we've seen
Homes.
it going. We've seen it through the years. They just renaming it and maybe providing a little bit more research. I get that.
But you had the benefit of an architectural program at Wentworth Institute that was pretty, I wouldn't say it's building science based.
No, but it was more informed than a lot of other schools.
But then, you went and during your early years had incredible perspective added to your architectural skill because of that company. But
even before I got to Building Science Corporation, I worked for a large firm in Cambridge, Mass. And like immediately, like I had some friends there, like I think like 4 or 5 of us got hired. They got a bunch of big projects and we all got hired. And within like a couple weeks, it was like, well, Steve, you work with this guy. And I was working with one of the senior architects. He was detailing stuff and I was drawing it up. And part of that was my personal motivation to be better. Like, I mean, it's not egotistical. I was better than the other 4 people that got hired in that firm. And they immediately acknowledged it. So it's like, hey, let Steve work with this guy and draw up these wall section details and all of this. And then they're getting pissed off saying, well, why am I drawing, bathroom plans and large bathroom
electrical layouts?
It's because you're a lazy ass and you didn't put forth the effort in school. So now you're reaping the benefits of it. Right. And it's like, I hate to be that pragmatic, but that's what it is. Right.
I wonder if one of the reasons we have more of a need of it in the building industry is because there's such a strong tendency to say, I learned this from so-and-so. They've been doing it for so long. There's a real temptation in the industry to not do, Steve, quite frankly, what you do, which is think outside the box. Yeah. Don't tell me how to do this. Tell me what the result should be, and then let me work on the different ways.
If you get an upset stomach, do you drink cod liver oil?
No.
Right. But like when I was growing up, that's when my mom would be like, here, have a teaspoon of this. Like, so am I supposed to like tell my kids, hey, let's drink cod liver oil because that's what grandma gave me? Right. And I understand. I understand I'm being a little out there on this. But the idea is at some point you have to question what you're doing and saying, is it the right thing? Right? Yes. Grandpa taught Dad how to build. Dad taught me how to build. But Grandpa and Dad didn't have the same tools, right? The same materials, right, the same science, the same research, all of that is backing me that, I did a project with a builder and he has 3 sons working for him. And he basically, when I went to visit the job site and was talking with him, I hung out with him and he goes, you're probably not going to get me to change my ways, but I'm turning the company over to those 3. They need to know this stuff. And so he was, I guess, I won't say, and I don't want to say smart enough to understand, but he was respectful enough to understand, you're probably not going to change what I do, but these guys need you.
I guess the question I'm struggling with is there any chance that standards will help to move the needle? Because, it's not the only way we're going to move the industry.
I don't think it's standards. I think it's enforcement. That's my problem. Okay. Because you can write all the standards you want. You can write all the code books you want. if somebody isn't holding your feet to the fire, and that's where I think the military, the Marine Corps, my experience, that's the difference. If my uniform wasn't pressed or whatever, I got called out on it. And I didn't only get called on it by my platoon sergeant or my squad leader. My colleagues and friends would be like, dude, you look like a shipper today. What's going on? Like, everybody is rowing in the same direction. It's like, you put on that uniform, you're putting it on for all of us, not just you. And part of my personal problem, and I realize it is, I look at the building industry as my second term in the Marine Corps, right? Like, I want everybody to be rowing. I'm extremely passionate. I'm trying to do a good job. I'm trying to provide education. And there's a lot of shipbirds that I have to deal with.
So
I know I keep using that term, but it was one of our favorite terms in the Marine Corps.
I can tell. So part of the issue is that there is no way to pull everybody rowing in the same direction. And I think you have you've sort of taken the best of your experience from the military and weave that into the way that you approach building.
I think there is. And it gets back to like the whole being lazy or whatever. It's like, if you own a company in, I don't know, somewhere in the Midwest. I know, let's not even go to the Midwest, somewhere in the Southeast, because we always beat up on the Midwest. But if you're a builder and you own a company in the Southeast, you have a responsibility to build good products. You also have a responsibility to every one of your employees to be the best employee that you can make them. Now, every one of those employees has a responsibility to you to show up on time, do work hard, and be the best possible employee you can have. And if we don't hold each other accountable, then that's where things fall through the loop. That's my opinion.
Jake.
I mean, if one of your guys just started showing up at 10:30 in the morning, would you have a meeting with them and say, hey, what the hell's going on?
So, I mean, you're saying similar to what I said in the beginning. It's not just adoption; it's also enforcement.
Yeah.
You brought up education in Europe. I think Europe and, say, Japan are great examples of the industry is a completely different level of respect there. Most of Europe, most of Japan, it's a craft. It's a respected thing. People take pride in what they do. It's not a business to just make money. It is a business to show how you're awesome at something, and to have pride in craftsmanship and to do something that's going to last for generations. And we don't have that in a large part of our industry here. It's not about craftsmanship. It's not about longevity. It's not about durability. It's about profitability. And those are completely different things than what we push for, or some people push for. And those are going to be the challenges to bring the industry along. You have to change that.
But I firmly,
you're never going to maintain how cheap can we do this and how quickly can we get out of there and how quickly can we get out of that warranty and make the industry a better place.
Yeah. But I mean, I was going to say it's the way all three of us think about buildings, right? If I make good air quality, comfort, and durability decisions, I get energy efficiency as a byproduct. Well, if I make good, respectful decisions about my building company or as an employee, we get profitability as a byproduct of those decisions. And we don't see it. We just search for that immediately. And I think that's the wrong target.
Just occurred to me that I have a builder remodeler who I've been working with for a number of years. And he pulls me in, once every 2 years or so to do an educational session with his staff, because he wants to make sure that they're constantly getting jostled into, it's really about how buildings work and the science behind that. Because, he runs a remodeling company. A lot of the time it's just like, hey, let's redo this kitchen. And sometimes there's not maybe a lot of building science involved there. But if somebody opens up a wall and doesn't have the sense to say, hey, wait a minute, I know we're doing a kitchen, but look what's going on here.
Yeah.
So
And I commend him because I don't think the success is necessarily in the topic that you bring to that discussion.
Right.
The success is him corralling his guys and gals and putting them in a room and said, let's forget about what we're doing over there and let's think about what we're doing as a company and building science-wise and such. And that starts churning some gears. So now when they open up that wall, it's not, oh, let's just rip this stuff out. It's like, okay, I see some damage here. Like, is that a leak? Is this something I should bring to somebody's attention? Like, it just changes their mindset.
And I guess I'll go back one more time to this, but I think this is the last time. If we had standards for education, would that move the needle with some other firms that don't think like this particular remodeler? I'm not talking about, a kumbaya moment where we've, oh gosh, I've got to do this differently. Just some standards that help to move this a bit more into the industry.
I'm not going to pick on anybody personally, any organization. I think all the organizations in general aren't asking the right questions. Mm-hmm. And they are so far removed from the solution that they're lost in their own little world.
Yeah.
The building industry, the architecture profession, the engineering profession. I mean, engineers, we have the one we work with, but occasionally we work with others. And some of these guys, like, well, I know a 2-foot wide footing will work, but let's just make this 4 feet and put 5 pieces of rebar in it to cover my ass. And it's like, that's not engineering.
Right.
That's a safety officer, for God's sakes. Like, let's just up the safety factor by 3x.
I hate to do this to you guys to close this out, but I'm going to be really struggling with resources. And maybe there aren't any on this particular topic, but think about that.
Just give him Jake's phone number.
It's a little nebulous.
Jake's phone number.
It just is what it is.
But I'm gonna do a little bit of thinking and also searching on this topic, especially in comparison to other professions. Like, is there any evidence that higher standards for medical professionals or legal?
I think it's a cultural issue. And I say that
that's interesting.
I say that because I have a client that is a doctor he's a doctor, but he also does what we do kind of outside of the building industry, education, and he's very passionate about it. And he has exactly the same frustration that when you go to see a doctor, that doctor doesn't know who you are. He's going off through a checklist. Okay, your temperature looks good, your heartbeat, this. Oh, look at this. This results in this. And it's like, you don't even know who the hell I am and what my conditions are. And you're making these recommendations.
You know what's interesting about that is that my brother Nathan is a doctor, and he thinks that one of the reasons he was pretty good building scientist or a building investigator is it's all about diagnostics.
Yes.
And they taught him in medical school how to diagnose. If you're a really good doctor, you know how to do that process. If you're not, you look into a checklist, which is kind of a prescriptive thing as opposed to a performance thing. Like, this person's not working right. It's my job to diagnose.
And he doesn't have the same issues that I have and the same issues that you have. If we all had a different heartbeat, for example, there's things that are going to be different about that, right? That are causing that.
Interesting.
I think we got our title of our episode too. Not working right.
Not working right. Talk about not working right. Listen to this. So I tried to venture out and have some fun in my life.
Yeah.
So I joined a coffee club. Like, you go down, you go to this little cafe, you experience different coffees.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, I got kicked out.
Why?
I wore a t-shirt.
TEA. I had to spell that one for Peter. For those of you just watching, he was staring at me going, what? I don't
Thank you for working your way through this episode. If you have questions
at theunbuilditpodcast.com. Thank you for joining us today. And until next time, have a good day.
Thanks, my friends.
Bye-bye.